How is Tottenham's season going so far, and how did they do against West Ham? What's Tottenham's identity under Ange Postecoglou like? What was the one occasion when Spurs fans clashed with Ange? And what does the phrase, "we need more legs" in the midfield mean? Welcome back to the Footglish Podcast, everyone. My name is Zdenek Lucas. I'm your host. And the Footglish Podcast is a podcast which is all about football, the Premier League, Czech football, and of course, learning English. And as always, there is a great guest. And today it's none other than my friend David, aka Jenks. Welcome back. How are you doing, man?
Thank you. I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome. And this is actually not your first time here. It's your second appearance on this podcast. Remember the first one?
Second or third, no?
I think it's the second one.
Second.
I think so, yeah.
You did
You
one
remember?
about gardening.
No, that was a different podcast, the one about gardening.
Right. We did one about the World Cup or the Euros, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. We talked about
Yeah.
England, I think, or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, but today I'm going to talk to you about one team which I'm not so fond of. I'll have to, it's a disclaimer. As an Arsenal fan, Tottenham is not exactly, something I would like to talk about much. But to be honest, you're my friend, so, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, you can't be perfect, Zdenek.
Yeah, no, it can't be perfect. You're right. And I also remember I've got a bit of a trauma. The last time I talked to you about Tottenham, because we actually went to a pub, remember?
You did, but you won that game. Arsenal won that game, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, we did. But it was traumatic because in first half it was 3-0.
Yeah.
And then we changed the pub. And suddenly you started scoring goals and you got very, very cocky there in the pub.
Very
And I was
close, right? Yeah.
I was like this small, I thought like we might draw it in the end or something.
Almost did, yeah.
Yeah, it almost happened.
Yeah.
But this is a new season, of course. And so how do you see it so far?
I think pretty optimistic, to be honest. I think it's still still early. It's the second season. Not many managers at Tottenham last that long, even. But the thing with Ange is that I say to like United fans and other fans is you can see what he's trying to do. You can see like what tactics he's trying to employ, whether you agree with them or whether you don't. It's very like gung ho, but you can just see the patterns of play and even the warm ups. It's very open what he's trying to do, and it's fun. And I'm not one of these fans that I feel like we need to win every week. It's like Arteta didn't challenge for the title until like what his fourth or fifth season. So
Something like
I
that,
think
yeah.
give Ange time. Most of the players are young. Like I expect if we do challenge it to be in 2-3 years time now, rather than now. So like I think it's good. It's fun at the moment, and
I can
let's see where
imagine.
it goes.
Okay, fair enough. I can imagine it must be fun to be a Spurs fan right now because it's interesting. You're right. Ange Postecoglou, he has got a clear identity. He wants to play attacking football, offensive football. He's a lot of managers play the opponent, right? But you instead
Right.
execute your own sort of plan. You have your own identity, your own way of playing.
Yeah.
And this is something you have to respect. Even as an Arsenal fan, I respect that.
Yeah.
I think Arteta isn't like that, right? So we have our own
No, it's not.
identity, but
Yeah.
we have an identity. But when we play Man City, we park the
That's
bus,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
it's more pragmatic. But yours is like gung ho, as you said. And I think they asked Ange Postecoglou in a press conference about this, and he said something along the lines of, "How do you?" Or he always says, "Mate," right? How do you think, mate? How do you think, mate, that I got this far, right? Someone from Australia, he had to create a name for himself in this kind of way, right? And he's true to himself, right? He's true to his ideas.
He is, yeah.
And that's what makes him a great manager. And I think it's also sort of like a great marketing. How to say this? He's like
Yeah. I mean, he's a very good speaker, isn't he?
persona. He's got a great persona
Yeah,
in the media as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Interestingly, he's not the most like personable guy in terms of like small talk or one-on-ones, but he's very good at press conferences, and they're quite interesting to watch. And he's got good sound bites, and I think
exactly.
people can just relate to him because I think he's just himself. He's just like a grumpy old man who's enjoying being a
Yeah,
manager of a football club in the Premier League, and people like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's very authentic, you know.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
says it as it is. He doesn't hold back, and
No,
you have a lot of people who are sort of hypocritical or
yeah,
uh, they are trying
yeah,
to pretend to be someone they are not. You know, like
yeah.
no, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, oh my god, when you're pretending to be someone else, uh,
Um,
imposter, right?
imposter. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's not that.
No,
He's just
he's not like that.
mm,
Yeah, he's very even the only time that's worked against him, I would say, was before the Man City match last year, with 2 games to go, where I would say 95% of Spurs fans wanted to lose to Man City.
mm.
People say it was 50-50 because if we drew, then Arsenal would have the chance to win the title. It wasn't 50-50. All of us wanted us to lose.
You too.
I don't know one Spurs fan that wanted us to win that game or get points off City
Yeah,
because it just
because
meant
it didn't matter to
Arsenal
you.
would win
It
the
didn't
league.
matter to you.
It didn't
It
matter to us. Like,
it didn't matter to you, like
yeah,
how this game ended. So in my
of
opinion,
course.
but he didn't like it. Postecoglou didn't
He
like it.
hated it. He
He
hated it.
hated it because
Yeah,
he didn't understand this sort
yeah,
of mentality or this sort of approach. And
yeah.
I kind of agree with him as well. But I
I
at
can
the
see
same
where he's
time,
coming from, but
yeah,
yeah, that's the only time where I thought, well, well, maybe just let back off a little bit. But to be fair to him, we didn't, and both sides have got over it, and it's fine. Yeah.
I I totally understand where you are coming from because I think it would be the same for an Arsenal fan.
Of course, it would be the same.
It would be
I'd
the
be
same.
completely the same.
But
Yeah,
him coming from
yeah,
Australia, right? He didn't get the rivalry, I think.
yeah. Perhaps that, but I mean, rivalries are everywhere. But I mean, and there was a small chance we could have got Champions League still, but he'd been
Yeah,
downplaying the importance of that for the last 10 weeks before that. Like, it's not that important. I only want it if we deserve it, kind of thing. And
yeah.
but anyway, I'm getting
I,
off topic. In general, we're big fans of Ange, and
but this is an
what,
interesting topic.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it has two sides of coin. Basically, he is right as well, right? Because you shouldn't have a losing mentality. You shouldn't want to play a game where you want to lose. It just makes no
sure,
sense. It
yeah,
makes no
yeah,
sense. You don't play football to lose. But
yeah,
at the same time, the rivalry is so strong that it would be so embarrassing for the fans. It would be just such an embarrassing story that it was Tottenham who actually helped Arsenal to
yeah,
win the
exactly.
title. It's just something you wouldn't be able to get over, you know, and you wouldn't forgive
Especially
him.
in this day and
You would,
age with all like the meme culture, and I mean, I'm not on Twitter or Instagram or any of that, but like, I can imagine the memes that would have followed.
yeah. This is what sometimes the world is about. It's not black and white. Like it has a lot of sort of
It has
middle
nuance. It's grey areas. Yeah,
nuances, gray areas, middle grounds. So
yeah.
it's important to understand both sides. But
And he did retreat a bit. He did retreat a bit. Like afterwards, he said, "I don't agree with you, but like, well, let's agree to disagree."
yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think that's fair. And Jenk, so we are here to talk about the Tottenham West Ham game, which I also
yeah,
watch because, as you know, I have a soft spot for West Ham. It's kind of my second team, yeah.
yeah. With the
So
Sufal and
yeah, so Czech
Suchek.
so far it doesn't play anymore. Unfortunately,
No,
his contract is running out. I think he's going to be out soon. But the
yeah,
point is, because of those two players, I I'm a sympathizer of this club. But
yeah,
you won 4-1, yeah.
yeah,
So pretty convincing victory for you, even though you were 1-0 down in the first half through Mohamed Kudus. So what did you think
yeah.
at that point when you conceded that goal? Were you confident that you would turn it around?
Yeah, I was because that was still very early on, and I think there was a lot of football to be played, and West Ham aren't. Even though in the first half they did low block and counter, they're not a defensive team like they were under David Moyes. So even if they want to sit back, I don't think they're able to do it the whole game because I'm not sure Lopetegui can coach that. Like I think people get a little bit confused about like, oh, why doesn't Mourinho like be really attacking? It's because he can't. He doesn't. In my opinion, I don't think he knows how to coach that style of football. I don't think David Moyes knows how to coach that style of football. Otherwise, they would have surely. And I think Lopetegui knows how to coach possession football. That's what Pep knows how to coach. And so I think while they did low block first half and did well for most of it, I always thought we'd come back in
Yeah.
and score a few goals.
That's right. Yeah, they didn't look that comfortable later on, and there was a spell in the second. Well, first of all, you equalized. Yeah, I think it was Kulusevski's goal.
Kulusevski, who's
Hit the
looking
post.
very
Hit the,
good at the moment.
hit
Yeah,
the ball hit the post, and then
yeah,
off the other post as well. So it was one of those
yeah. Off the woodwork,
billiard. What would you say? Billiard goals. Yeah,
ricochet. Yeah,
ricochet twice. Yeah. Yeah, so that
yeah,
was a cool goal, and then in the second half there was a spell where you scored 3 goals within the span of 8 minutes, right?
yeah. Well, he
So
made an interesting change at half time. He actually. So why I think Postecoglou is the most attacking coach in the league, and like it's because I think he gives the other team a chance. I think you always have a chance to counter, which I like. I think it makes for a better football match. Whereas I actually think I would actually go as far as to say I think Pep Guardiola is probably one of the most boring managers in the league, purely because he wants his team to keep the ball, stifle the
yeah,
opposition, and if they do counter, he goes for tactical fouls. Like I don't know if you watched I watched the last 10 minutes of the game
I,
against Wolves
I
on
watched
Sunday,
I watched
and
about half an hour. Yeah. Mm.
And the amount of times the ball gets to Jack Grealish, he does one or two step overs and he just passes it back. It goes out to the other side. Bernardo Silva does one or two step overs. It gets passed back. It's like it's a bit English, but like at some point you want to like have some action when you put the ball in or
Yeah.
something. But he's doing it as a defensive thing, so they don't give it away and they don't
It's like
lose the ball on transition.
I would say it's kind of like a pragmatic safety first
It
approach,
is. It is. It's
while
not.
while
It's not
while
attractive at
while it's like
all.
dominating football as well at the same time,
Yeah.
because they keep
Yeah.
possession at all times, right? They have like
But it's a
good
defensive
possession.
thing.
It is kind
Yeah.
of both, right? It's like attacking and
Yeah.
defensive. Yeah, it's
So in the
it's
second half, anyway, Postecoglou bought off Madison at half time and bought on Sarr, and he said he needed more legs in midfield. Basically, because Kudos, Paquetá, and
hang on,
Bowen
hang on,
were
hang on. More legs in
gone.
midfield. How many legs does Sar have?
Well, it's a
Is he
eternal
is he
phrase.
is he an alien or an
It's
octopus?
an English podcast. That's one for your listeners. More legs means the ability to move around faster with more stamina.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Madison is a technical player for your listeners, and Sarr's more of an athletic player.
Hmm.
And it was because Kudos and Paquetá were getting the ball on the break. So even though it seemed like a defensive change, it actually stopped them breaking, and it meant we could press much higher. And then all those goals came in like however many minutes you said.
And from that moment on, West Ham had no leg to stand on.
Oh, yes. Well, and especially Kudos, who decided to take out about 3 players at
Ku-
the end of the
Ku-
game.
Kudos was on his last legs.
What happened with Kudos? That was crazy. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He went berserk. He
I
completely
haven't seen
he
it for a long
completely lost
time.
it.
He
Yeah,
could have a long ban, I think. Yeah, he kicked
yeah,
Van der Ven twice, kind of slaps him, then for some reason hit Saar as well. Yeah,
yeah. Definitely, it was a definite red for me. And
yeah,
he's frustrated. There were some stories about him. Basically, the managers. There was like 2 games ago. The manager was subbed him off, and he's like considered one of the superstars of the team. Yeah,
yeah,
and he was brought off in halftime because apparently the story was that he doesn't pass the ball. Yeah, he's too selfish.
yeah. He's
So
a
so
dribbler, isn't
he is, but a bit too much. Yeah, And the manager saw that. The players probably complained about him, Bowen, and Bowen is the captain. So there was some sort of bust up in the dressing room
Oh,
with him. Yeah, and the funniest thing is like, how did it even come out? Somebody must have leaked this information. It's
yeah,
not
of
help.
course. Yeah,
It doesn't help anyone when this happens, right?
yeah.
So there is a bit of that. And now he scored the first goal. I think he thinks that basically his teammates are not at his level. Sometimes he has this
That's not right.
arrogance. It's not.
I disagree with him.
No,
I think Paquetá and Bowen are I could get in most teams in the Premier League.
Paqueta not anymore. He's just
Really?
completely out of form because
Is that
uh,
because of the betting thing?
the betting thing, and it's getting more serious now because there are more sort of
Uh, well, a
accusations.
year or two ago, I think he could have got. Well, City wanted him, didn't they?
This season he hasn't shown anything. Like
So maybe he should be dropped.
All West Ham fans want him dropped,
Ah,
but
really?
the manager keeps playing him, and now because Kudus did this, he will be like out for 3 games. So maybe Paqueta still has to play, but
Mm,
he's completely out of it at the moment. Yeah.
mm, mm. And the new striker is injured, isn't he?
He's injured. Yeah, he's got an
Yeah.
Achilles heel problem, and that's also a bit enigmatic. It's kind of mysterious.
So it's still
What's
Antonio.
yeah,
Yeah. And to be fair
because
to Antonio, he doesn't get much luck with Van der Ven there running into the channels.
yeah, Van der Ven was playing really well. I have to
I
say,
mean, yeah,
he's a
he's a bit
great
of a
player.
cheat code. Yeah,
He's a cheat code. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, on the back.
A little bit of a cheat as well. Like when Kudus punched him in the face. I mean, the way he sort of he started screaming.
But do you know what? Do you know why I did that? It's
Mm,
because Kudos has kicked him twice on the floor.
I
I mean, I don't
know,
like players going down, but Kudos has had like
I
two
know.
kicks, hoping the ref hasn't seen him in his
Yeah.
ribs. So I think he's just like,
No,
yeah,
no, I completely agree with the
I
ref.
think he wants him off at that point.
I'm just saying,
And
like, I don't like when players have to be like this theatrical.
true.
That's all. That's all. Like, I don't think
And
it's
like the
necessary.
opposite was Saar, who like Saar had a much bigger hit, didn't he? And he just kind of like walked off as if nothing had happened.
Yeah, that's VAR
That
for
was
you.
funny.
They
And
don't even.
Then Richarlison had nothing and goes down the worst.
Oh yeah, Richarlison of
Yeah,
all
that
people.
was funny.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
want to ask you about Solanke as well. So he is in my fantasy team, Jenks, but
yeah.
unfortunately, he hasn't really been firing on all cylinders yet. So
He's
what's
got a
going on?
few goals, hasn't he? He's got a few.
Not
Solanke
recently.
is Solanke is the perfect striker for Ange's system.
Yeah.
And I think it was such a clever buy because it's a buy you probably wouldn't normally make at Spurs because he's probably about, for his ability, he's probably about 10, 15, 20 million too expensive for what he is. But Ange's mantra is all about pressing the ball high up. And Solanke, I think, is the best I've seen at it personally. And I just think it makes a huge difference because
Yeah.
you can attack in possession, but you can also attack out of possession with your high press, and is so good at that. And I don't think it'll be like Harry Kane levels in terms of goals, but I think I'd be surprised if he doesn't get over. I'd be I think he'll be between 15 and 20 in the Prem this season.
Hmm.
But I'm glad that they backed Ange because about when Pochettino first came in, we had Lloris as goalkeeper, and Lloris was a world-class goalkeeper at that point. But Lloris has never been able to play the ball out with his feet.
Yeah.
And I was calling for them to make a really kind of like hard decision then to say let Luis leave. He'll go to like Paris, Saint Germain, or Real Madrid or whatever. But you have to get a person who can play the ball with his feet because that's what Pochettino wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And we never quite fixed that. And look how close we got to the league twice and then the Champions League as well. And I actually think if we had a keeper, although Lloris was world class, who could play with his feet like an Alisson or an Edison, we would have got over the line. And I think backing Ange with Solanke, who can press like Ange needs, I think it is. Even you look at Johnson now. Johnson's not really like a. He's not a dazzling player. He's not that sexy player, but
Oh, he's doing
he
well
gets
right
it.
now. He's playing
He
well.
does what Ange wants. He gets it at the back
Yeah.
post for those Ange cutbacks. So I think you do
I
have to have
think
a little bit of trust. Yeah.
Yeah, he is a threat, Johnson. He's playing really well.
Oh, a
Yeah.
huge threat, but he's not. He's not. You wouldn't call him like a world class player. He's not a good dribbler. He's just great at off the ball running.
Yeah.
He's a neat finisher and he's quick, and that's what Ange wants from that wide player.
And this style suits him. It's kind of a little bit similar to what Klopp did at Liverpool in a way, right? With
Yeah,
this sort of heavy metal football.
yeah,
But
it is a
I
bit
have to
similar.
I
Yeah,
have to say one thing. Like, even though I'm not Spurs' biggest fan, like watching a
yeah,
Spurs game is fun, one way or
yeah,
another.
yeah,
There's usually a lot of goals in it, and that's why we
yeah.
watch football. So I'll
Yeah.
definitely give your team that. That's for sure.
Yeah,
So
I just hope Levy stays with him because the thing is, if we have a couple of bad results, I think we were only 2 points above West Ham before that game. Like we're not, we do drop a lot of points.
I want to show you
Um,
the table. Yeah. So basically, you are in the where are you in the seventh
eighth or
place?
seventh.
Yeah, you're seventh, right? I'm
But
sharing
what's
my
the
screen.
points
You're on 13 points right now
from how many games?
from 8 games. So you
Okay,
are
it's not
so
bad.
so Liverpool have 21 though. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's 8 points. You're 8 points behind Liverpool
yeah.
and and 4 points behind Arsenal. So you can still, like, you're kind of in the mix. You're definitely in the mix for the top four finish. That's for sure. But
Oh yeah.
the title race, I mean, I'm not sure. It's a bit
No,
far
not
now.
this season. I don't think this season, but I think that is quite open this season.
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be as many points needed to win the title as previous seasons.
Hmm.
I see weaknesses in both Arsenal and City
Yeah, for sure.
this season.
It might be Liverpool actually this season. That would be hilarious.
Yeah,
Of
it
all
could
of
be,
all
but I
teams,
mean,
the team that let the one of the best managers of the entire Premier League history go, Jurgen
yeah.
Klopp, and who became now the head of Red Bull or something.
Oh yeah, that hasn't gone down well, has it?
No, not in Germany.
I've
That's for
heard
sure.
Germans are more angry with him for becoming that than they are with Tuchel for becoming England manager.
He apparently he has way more respect in England than he does in Germany.
Yeah, now, but I mean, but because everyone hates Red Bull in Germany, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
They do. That's why I'm saying, like, in England
yeah,
he's more popular, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he did that. I'm not sure what he doesn't need that, does he? But yeah.
Apparently, from what I heard, is that he had promised something in the past,
Uh,
and he's like this kind of guy that wants to keep his promises, I guess, which is rare in football. So I guess that's why he
mm.
did it. I think he really needed a break. He burnt out at Liverpool. It happens,
But he
He's
knows how unpopular Red Bull were, and before he was with like good clubs like Dortmund are a good traditional club, and he hadn't had any link to them before. So
well, there's another theory. Basically, now that he's in charge of Red Bull, he gets Red Bulls for free, so he can have he can have as many Red Bulls as he wants, every day. So he will have a lot of energy, and he'll even grow wings and stuff like that. So anyway, Jenks. So yeah, you did pretty well in this game, and it's looking good for you, I guess. So
yeah, I wish the Arsenal match was around now rather than a month or two ago. I think that match was at the wrong point for us. We hadn't quite clicked into gear or got our season running yet.
it was
I think
exactly
I
at
think
the
if it
right
was
at the right
yeah.
point. It
I
was
think if it was
exactly when
next week, I'd fancy Tottenham. I think if it was next
no,
week.
no, no, no. I'm pretty.
What
I'm really
what do you
glad that
think?
we still had Saka at that point. I think Odegaard was still playing. I'm not. Maybe Odegaard wasn't. I'm not
No,
sure, but
I don't think Odegaard did play, did he?
I can't remember. But right now, at Arsenal, there are real issues because important players are injured now.
It's like the
Saliba,
first time, isn't it? The first time in this last 2 years that
yeah.
you've had injuries.
Saka hasn't really been injured much. He always had like knocks and niggers, and if he was out of the team, it was just for one week or something.
Yeah,
And
same with
now
Odegaard. Yeah,
and now Saliba's red card means that he's suspended, so that's
yeah.
not good, right?
For the
Suspended.
Liverpool game as well, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So maybe it's Tottenham who can take advantage of this. I hope not, of course, for the sake of our Arsenal supporters. But it is what it is. It's football,
I
right?
think
That's
it's
why
probably a year or two too early, but yeah.
we love it. It's always fun. Jenks,
Mhm.
I think that's we will leave it there. Unless you want to
Yeah.
talk about fantasy football, which I don't know. Do you play fantasy
You know,
football?
I've told you this before. I don't play fancy football. You know the reason why?
Tell me.
It's because to play fancy football and win, you need to have your rival players in the teams. So I'd have to have players like Haaland, Saka, Salah,
Yeah,
Man United players, and I'm just not doing that. I'm not watching a match and wanting Saka to score or wanting a Chelsea player to score. No way. So that's the reason I've never been able to play fantasy football because you
fair
have to
enough.
have the best players
I have
and obviously
Solanke in
they're
my
Tottenham's
team.
rivals.
I
Yeah,
have,
I can do that. I
and
can do that.
he's not playing really well. I should instead get Son. I should get Son
You should
instead.
put yes, well, Son now, but I think to be honest, our best player this year has been Kulusevski. Moving
Really?
inside from the wing to the middle, he's been a revelation. Like, I'm unbelievable in the middle.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for this inside information. I'm gonna use it to my advantage now.
yeah,
Anyway, Jenks, I've got to go.
yeah,
Thank you very much for listening,
yeah,
everyone, and
yeah.
take care.
Take
Bye bye.
care. Bye.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Language Corner. As always, in this part of the show, I'm going to be teaching something. Because, yes, this podcast is about football, but it is also an educational podcast. That's right. I run this podcast in order to help English learners around the world. And today, I would like to talk about a few idiomatic phrases, a few idioms. Yeah, so these are phrases which are sometimes difficult to understand if it's the first time you've heard them, because the words, the individual words which are part of these idioms, they often seem to have an unrelated meaning. Yeah, so they have a meaning, but as a whole. What Jenks said is that in the second half, Postecoglou brought off Madison, so he substituted Madison at halftime and brought on Sar, right? So he brought on Sar, and then Jenks added, he said he needed more legs in midfield. I guess that's how Ange was explaining it in the press conference. He needed more legs in midfield. I made fun of this phrase because it sounds funny. More legs in midfield? What do you mean? If you bring off one player and then bring on another player, mathematically, it's the same number of legs, right? Because every player only has two legs. But there's a phrase in English. If you need more legs, in this case in midfield, it means you need somebody, you need a player that runs a lot, that can do a lot of running, someone with a lot of stamina. Okay, so this is what it means. If you need more legs, you need somebody who is more athletic. Medicine is more technical, right? So Sar is more of a runner, let's say. Okay, so to more legs in the midfield. Interesting idiom for sure. And because, sometimes I like to make fun using a lot of idioms. I'm not sure if it landed very well, these jokes, but I tried to carry on and throw in more idioms with the words. Sorry, I tried to throw in more idioms with the word leg in them. Yeah. All these goals came in so quickly, right? We were saying something like that. And then I added, yes, and from that moment on, West Ham had no leg to stand on, right? So it was 4-1 quickly at the beginning of second half. And then all those goals were scored, as Jenks said. And I responded to that by saying, yes, and from that moment, West Ham had no leg to stand on. So this is a phrase that is often used when you talk about two people arguing, right? Or two groups of people arguing. And when one group of people or one person runs out of arguments, runs out of things to say, right? The arguments stop making sense. It's all just emotions and you can't argue like that. Then you have a no leg to stand on, right? So it's used in this sense. But I also use this in this context, and I think it also kind of works, right? If you have no leg to stand on in this game of football, basically, if you're West Ham, you are 4-1 down. It basically means you kind of run out of ideas, right? You run out of ideas of what to do on the pitch. Yeah, you could say what's his name? Lopetegui, the manager, I never know how to pronounce his name. Lopetegui? Something like that. The Spanish manager of West Ham United, he had no leg to stand on, right? He ran out of ideas, he didn't know what to do with it, and he couldn't turn it around at all because West Ham were just clueless, okay? So another good idiom, to have no leg to stand on, okay? And there was one more. Jenks said, especially Kudos, who decided to take out 3 men. So he decided, I think he tried to kick a few people and then he punched someone or slapped someone in the face. Then he was sent off. He was shown a red card by the referee, right? And to that I responded, yeah, Kudus was on his last legs. So if you are on your last legs, which as you can see is another idiom which contains the word leg in it. If you are on your last legs, you are near the end of your life. You usually use it to describe someone who is kind of dying, right? Maybe sick, someone really sick or old, and they are on their last legs. You can see this person is about to kick the bucket, as we say. But it can also mean that you are near the end of your usefulness or existence, right? So it kind of, again, made sense as a joke in this context when I said Kudus was on his last legs because, well, he was sent off. So he was near the end of his usefulness. He was actually at the end of his usefulness. Right, so remember, if you need more legs in the midfield, you need a player or more players that can run, that have a lot of stamina. If you have no leg to stand on, you have kind of run out of arguments or ideas. And if you are on your last legs, it means you're near the end of your life or usefulness or existence. Okay, listeners, I hope this is useful for you. If you did enjoy this episode, please don't forget to support the Footglish Podcast. It's absolutely crucial for the existence of this podcast. It's still very early days and I need more people who listen to this podcast, which I hope you enjoy. So if you want to help, press that like button, comment on the YouTube channel and subscribe wherever you can and tell your mates about the podcast. Okay, I'm done with this promotion. It has to be part of the show. Every podcast does it. Yeah, if you want to have a podcast, you need to do this. I'm sorry if it's annoying. To be honest, sometimes it's annoying for me too. It's the least enjoyable part of having a podcast, but perhaps it's the most necessary one. Anyway, I have been Zdenek. Thank you very much for watching or listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.